Hey, Scott, are you there? Are we good? Hey, Scott, are you there? Are we good?
Hey everybody, welcome to the town hall meeting, and here is Kenny Klaus, Craig Klaus, and Kevin Thompson.
All right. Check. We are live. Thank you guys for joining us. My name is Kenny Klaus. You've got Kevin. You want to say hi real quick?
Hey everybody, how you doing?
He just landed, hopped out of his plane there, so nothing like a grand entry, huh?
Right.
There you go.
In my T38.
There you go.
I set it down right on the pedestal.
Perfect. Nailed it. Craig, you want to say hi down there?
How you doing, everybody? I hope everybody's doing well this evening. Looking forward to tonight.
Yeah, so we'll jump right in. We know it's 7 o'clock for everybody. Get a few people are still logging in, so we'll kind of give them a second here. But appreciate you joining us, and it's an honor and a pleasure to have Kevin on board with us tonight, just to kind of give a balance between what's happening out there with everything since middle of March or so, and how that's impacting kind of us specifically out here in the East Valley. A lot about 85209, 85212 area, and hope to shed a little light and a little confidence on where we're at and where we're heading. I know Governor Ducey just spoke a couple hours ago and gave a little clarity on where we're at and where we're going, and hopefully some timelines to get certain businesses back up and running. So we're excited about that. So we'll jump in with Kevin here to get started. Just talk a little bit about your District 6 and what's happening out here. The good changes, things that are coming, and just kind of shed some light on the growth out here. I've personally been out here for right around 20 years now, and Ellsworth and Baseline looks a little different today than it. Well, I shouldn't say on the north side it doesn't, but but everywhere else, and from there on out, pretty exciting. I mean, you've got to have probably one of the most growth districts of the entire city of Mesa as far as development, with especially Eastmark and Gateway and all the stuff going on. So if you just want to give us an overview like you do for us, that helps provide so much good data for our community newsletter that hopefully you guys are with my background there, you can't really see it, but that you get every month here. So yeah, if you want to share some stuff, Kevin, with your people too, and we'll take it from there.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you, Kenny, for setting this up and doing this. It's always a lot of fun. Being able to talk to the constituents and talk to people about what all the exciting things that are going on in our district. You would think that with COVID, it's everything's come to a standstill, but it hasn't. I can tell you the developers are pumping the brakes, but they haven't really stopped development. Probably the number one question that I get consistently is, what's going on with the SR24, and when's that going to be built? And so I'm part of a task force, I guess, a small group of folks that Senator Farnsworth put together. Senator David Farnsworth, he's the LD16, covers Mesa, Queen Creek area. So he put me on kind of like a little ad hoc committee that consists of members from Queen Creek, Pinal County, ADOT, MAG. It's kind of like all the players that build highways is in the room, and we're having the conversation about what's going on with the SR24, what can we do to speed it up, and so forth. And so we've been meeting for about a year, maybe a little more than a year now. We've pushed, and thankfully, Senator Farnsworth, during this last budget cycle last year, was able to get some funding, additional funding, because MAG only had enough dollars in its purse. So MAG is the Maricopa Association of Governments, and it's like all the cities across the valley. They have representatives on that basically run MAG, and MAG is the purse strings for ADOT. So they're the ones that hold the money and provide funding to ADOT to build all the roadways in and around Maricopa County. You also have PAG, which is the Pinal. Say it's a duplicate of MAG, which is PAG in Pinal County. But they only had enough funding really to build a single overpass, one direction at Ellsworth and basically Williamsfield there, where it was going to cross Ellsworth and just south of Ray. And Senator Farnsworth was able to get funding pushed into the budget to build the additional bridge, because we all agreed that it was kind of silly to spend the money, disrupt the traffic, and only build a single lane bridge in one direction, and then come back, who knows when, to do another bridge for the other direction. And so he was able to get the funding put in. So there will be an overpass at Ellsworth. So hopefully that'll help with some of the traffic issues that we've been experiencing at Ellsworth and Ray in that area. I'm hopeful anyway. I keep my fingers crossed. But right now it looks like that the bid went out this past April. They're looking to award the bid in July of this year, and then construction starting about September. And
Wow.
It's going to be roughly a 24-month or 2-year project. So it'll probably be 2022, late 2022, early 2023 before it's opened. Right now, if you remember when the 303 in the West Valley got built, it was basically just graded and asphalt was laid down. Everything was at ground level. And then as funding became available, that's when they started building the elevations and the underpasses and overpasses and stuff like that. So it's going to be built in the exact same manner. So it's all going to be at grade level, except for the Ellsworth crossing. That'll be elevated. And then everything else will go back down to ground level, and it'll go all the way out to Ironwood. So that'll help. But what that's also done is sparked a lot of interest in developers and businesses wanting to build along the SR24 corridor. So we have a lot of people talking right now that are coming in, knocking on the door, wanting to know, what's the vision for the area? What are we looking to do? So it's been a big challenge, because obviously we want to protect the industrial corridor, Germain and Pecos. Boeing also has an egress and egress across where the proposed SR24 is going to go, as well as just slightly south of that. So we don't really want residential to the south of that, so we can protect Boeing's flight path in and out. But we want something that's also not going to push up against the industrial businesses out there, like the Matheson Gas and the Bridgestone and CMC and CRM crushed rubber. We want to make sure that we're protecting them, Fuji and so forth. So we want to really, what I'm hoping we can do is have the commercial retail along the frontage of the SR24, and then slowly as we head south to the industrial corridor, go with light industrial, and then fade into our heavy industrial corridor, and allow the 24 really to be the line of demarcation per se between residential and non-residential. Try to keep the residential to the south. But there's a lot of activity going on. I mean, we can, I can start at the north part of the district, and we can kind of head all the way around if you want to do it that way when we talk about economic development. But so there's a couple of projects at Chrisman that are looking to come in. Chrisman Gateway is going to be on the east side of Chrisman, just north of Baseline, over by where the Black Rock Coffee is, just south of that, between that and the Banner Health Center, as a Chrisman, what's it called? Chrisman Gateway. It's a mixed use facility. They're looking at probably 3 to 4 stories. They're wanting to really do a retail along the bottom, and then on the top it'll either be office or residential or something, or a combination of the two. So that's kind of exciting across there. Not so much on the other side of Chrisman. If you look at over there, it's the Chrisman Commons. We've had a lot of the folks in the community in the Chrisman neighborhoods there that have come out against it, against the project. Originally, the developer that bought the land wanted to build an assisted living facility there. I really pushed back against that because we had 3 assisted living facilities on the north side of the 60 on Chrisman. And I thought just a 4th it was a little bit overkill. I wanted to see something else that really would really bring revenue to our city, since we thrive off of sales tax. So what they proposed was to bring in multifamily and a hotel and a restaurant. I was big on the hotel and restaurant because obviously those bring revenue to us. I wasn't a big fan of the multifamily, but he was insistent on building multifamily. I really pushed back against ensuring that they didn't build up to the fence line, because as a homeowner, none of us want an apartment in our backyard looking down in our backyard. So I want the privacy aspect. So I pushed for the setback on the property with additional landscaping, so there wouldn't be a line of sight view into any of the backyards. So they came back with a proposal for that. Obviously they've had some meetings in the neighborhood. There's been a big outpouring of opposition to that. So I reached back out to the zoning attorney that represents the builder, asked them if they would table the conversation and continue the zoning case and go back to the neighborhood and meet with the neighborhood. Because I really, my goal is always to get to a win-win solution. I want to make sure that not only is it a win for our community, that it's also a win for the builder, right? For the developer that's wanting to come into Mesa. We want them to feel like they're welcome in Mesa, and they can come in and build a quality product, and we'll like it. So I want to make sure it's a win-win. So I'm forcing the developer to go back to the community, have some neighborhood meetings, and see if we can't get to a win-win resolution in that. And so they've promised that they're going to do that. And so all the emails that the community's been sending me, I forward those over to our planning department. They in turn notify the zoning attorney so that they can reach out individually and ensure that those folks are invited to a neighborhood meeting. So that project got tabled. Mountain Vista Marketplace. It's sort of an exciting product or project. It is at Hampton and Signal Buttes between Hampton and the 60. It's a big vacant piece of land that runs, that has the power lines running through it. It's a master. One developer has bought that entire section. Really, all the pockets, even the piece that's in behind the, I forget what the market is there at Southern and Signal View. But anyway, the empty vacant land behind that, they bought that as well. So they're master planning that whole area. So we're hoping to see some commercial along the front piece of that. There's going to be some multifamily in there as well, and then we're trying to get some office put in along the 60, multi-story, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-story tall buildings put in along 60, so that we have the appearance of something other than just a bunch of residential and multifamily housing. So that's kind of an exciting product. They're moving through the process, working with P&Z, trying to get everything lined up so that can move forward.
Kevin, was that the southwest corner or southeast corner?
That's the southwest corner.
Okay,
I believe
so
I think the southeast corner is either state land or county island.
So was that years ago? Is that where was
Yeah,
there
the
a
old
Target
Target.
supposed to go
That
there?
was where the Target was supposed to go.
Yeah,
So the
I was there
developer
for the
came in and
ground-
bought all that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
awesome.
Right now, I know I went in on a ride along with PD, and I know that we were chasing a shoplifting suspect that hopped that fence and was running across that property. We tried to intercept them, and obviously we didn't succeed in that because we think they went into the drainage system. But we did stumble upon a homeless community in there. And so we just kind of left them as is for right now. But I think as soon as you see, the graders out there, then the homeless population from there will move on and find another place to relocate.
Kevin, got a quick question for you too. Someone asked is what is being built at Pecos east of Ellsworth?
Pecos east of Ellsworth.
Was there a sports complex going in there? Is that what I
Yeah,
heard?
so I'll get to that in just a second.
Perfect. Yep, no problem.
I'm working my way down.
There we go.
So if you get down to going down Signal View to Elliott Road, when you get in over towards the Niagara, in behind the Niagara in that area, there's going to be a company called Raging Wire. They build the big massive batteries. So we're going to have a battery manufacturer. So we're going to have a manufacturer come in called Raging Wire. Continuing along Elliott, EdgeCore is the big data center that built on the Eastmark property. They're finished with phase 1. They're about ready to start phase 2. I think all of us have learned from the COVID and the stay at home and work from home order that you can actually use Zoom or WebEx or many number of things. So there's all of a sudden a bigger interest now in data and data storage. And so there's a big interest in, of course, more data centers. I'm not ultimately a big fan of data centers because they don't bring a lot of employment, but they use a lot of electricity, which generates a lot of revenue for the city of Mesa, in excess, in some aspects, around $2 million a year, in some respects. And so, obviously, I don't want to have data centers lined up and down Elliott Road, but what I'm chasing is the supply chain that provides the widgets to the data centers, because to me that's where the jobs are. And so, if I can fill, the supply chain supply chains in between all the data centers, that's where I'm trying to get to. But you have to have the data centers first before you bring in. I mean, it's kind of like, you have to have the residential before you bring the restaurants, right? Same thing with data centers. So I'm chasing the supply chains and trying to get that, but also trying to diversify, our market out here to make sure that if we have a downturn in tech, that, we're not totally annihilated and so forth. If you go down, okay, I said, so if we head down Ellsworth, so we cut over, we're heading down Ellsworth. You're going to have what's called the Legacy Sports Complex. That's the sports complex at Pecos and Ellsworth. There's a group of private investors right now that have submitted plans. They're going through the zoning process and so forth. Very interested in bringing a sports complex that will not only compete with Reach 11, if you're into soccer and the whole Reach 11 up in North Phoenix. So they want to be able to compete with Reach 11, but on a private versus a public stance. They also want to build baseball and softball fields. They're looking at bringing in hotels as well as some restaurants to the area. So they're trying to, I really pushed them. I said, look, I don't really care about, soccer fields and baseball fields. I want the revenue. I want the things that make our city run on a day-to-day basis, which is really the sales tax, and that's because our city doesn't have a primary property tax. Our city functions off of the sales tax. So I want things that are bringing revenue and things that are bringing jobs to our community. And so that's what I've been pushing for. And so that's what I told them. I said, make it a destination location so that once somebody, whether they hopefully they'll fly into Gateway Airport and they come over to the sports complex and they never have to leave, this part of Mesa to go anywhere else. They can eat here, they can stay here, they can, buy their sports gear or whatever they need here. That it's a one-stop shop, one-stop location. So they're trying to get to that point. They got some pretty big backers with them. They're going to do some physical therapy stuff out there as well for the players and so forth. So it's kind of an exciting project. They've been talking about it for, oh gosh, I think I started meeting with them close to a year ago, kind of talking through what this project is and what it would look like and so forth. And then of course they had to meet with the airport because there are height restrictions placed on the lighting and so forth, because you are within the emergency flight path of the aircraft and so forth. So they've met with the airport. They've gone through all the scenarios. The airport's okay with what they're doing. So they're moving forward now and meeting with the city.
Did I hear one of the guys involved in it had mentioned to me, and this was a little while back, several months ago. That's why I'm glad to get an update from you. Are they doing an EA Sports Arena type thing there too? I had heard that he had mentioned that like the video game stuff that they talked about that as another piece.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about that. I haven't gotten the full briefing on that piece yet, but I've heard a little bit about it because that's kind of where obviously the sports world is starting to turn now. You're seeing like NASCAR since all the sports have been canceled. I think there was a big NASCAR race or something with all the NASCAR drivers. There was something on ESPN one day. I was flipping through and I was like, yeah, I can't watch that, right? That's not NASCAR. It's just watching a video game. But yeah, so I think they're moving in that direction, and so it'd be interesting to see what they're going to do.
Awesome.
If you go down, if you turn off of Ellsworth and head down Ray Road, obviously you see the giant industrial spec, Class A industrial spec buildings that are coming up on the north side of Ray, just south of the 202. That's called the Landing. They're finishing up the second phase of the Landing. They're looking at crossing the street and starting phase 3, probably sometime mid to later this year. So that'll be a lot of fun. You're seeing so much activity out there with the Landing, and they did a lot of the other stuff on the south side of Ray. All that's at 90. I think they told me last time I met with them, they were around 98% at capacity at some of the new buildings they had just put up. The cool thing is that some of the folks businesses that moved out there like the area so much that they actually bought houses, and so there are a couple of the owners that live in Eastmark that own properties or own businesses right there off of Ray Road. So really cool. So that's the Landing phase 3. As you continue going west on Ray Road, right there at Sossaman, you come up on what we call the Orset property. So they're on the north side, just behind the furniture store there. So they're building, I guess, some smaller industrial spec, office spec type stuff. So print, save, repeat just moved in probably about 6 months ago. They were, I think, the very first leasee, I guess, in that area for the Orset project. They came out of Chandler. They had 2 or 3 buildings spread across Chandler and I think maybe into Gilbert. They were able to come to Orset and come to Mesa and consolidate. And so they brought all their equipment, all their supplies and everything. It's called Print Save Repeat. They provide or refill the printer cartridges for the big boys like the Walmarts and the Costco's, and so they don't do, unfortunately, they don't do like our home printers
Right.
and so forth, but they do a lot of work for the big boxes that are in our community. So kind of cool story with them. Then as you come off of Ray Road there at Power, it's Galleria Park. So they've obviously already started construction on the Spencers. They're doing a Spencers building, I guess, there on the very south. Spencers is part owner of the project. So it's going to be an exciting project when it's all said and done. I think it's something you can go in and look at the plans, I believe, with the city of Mesa that have already been sent in and approved. But it's going to be a pretty phenomenal project. There's going to be some multifamily. There's going to be a lot of restaurants. They're looking to bring a hotel or two in. There's going to be some office that fronts the 202 there at Power. So it's going to be, there's multiple restaurants. One of the concepts that they were talking about was providing space for up and coming chefs that can't really afford right now to build their own restaurant, but that can maybe come out and lease space for a day or two and provide the different menu options, so they can come out and try their culinary skills and see how it does in real time without doing the investment in a building and so forth. Building the 3,000 to 5,000 square foot facility. So it'll be interesting because our residents will be able to go to a restaurant and have potentially a different chef almost every night or every other night. So it'll be a rotating and revolving menu. So that's kind of exciting. And then heading north, we have a project called the Cannon Experiment. That's at Power and Warner. It's the south side of Warner, between the tire store or the big Roberts Tires or whatever, Robertson's Tires. Between that and Warner Road, there's an individual that came in and bought the property. They're looking to build a competition size wave pool. They also want to do some industrial type spec buildings to the south to kind of block the view of the tire place. But they also are looking at around the pool or around the wave pool, bringing in maybe a hotel, some restaurants, and different accommodations. They want to bring some office space in as well to go around the pool. And then what I thought was really cool is they're looking at potentially doing a 2-story go-kart track with virtual reality. So it'd be kind of like a real-time Super Mario Brothers is how it was sort of explained to me. So I thought that was really cool. I don't know exactly how you're going to drive and not run into somebody if you're chasing, or if you hit a banana peel or something. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But they're interested in moving pretty quickly on that. They at least want to start doing some testing and so forth, and get that project moving. And then the last piece is way down at Ellsworth, roughly around where Pecos is kind of offset. So if you look to the very far south Pecos offset, we're looking at bringing in a rail line, a spur line. The city's not. There's the industrial community out there and the landowners out along Germain and Pecos and in that area are wanting a spur off of the Union Pacific. And so Union Pacific is really, they're actually talking about funding the entire project, which they've never done before. We just had a meeting 2 weeks ago, I believe it was. And they were talking about, they're going to go in and get easements. So they have to buy property, put the track in and maintain the track as well. So it's pretty exciting for that southeast portion of Mesa. I think you're going to see a lot of activity. There's a lot of businesses that are looking for a rail spur to come in. hopefully it's not going to create issues on Ellsworth for those folks in Queen Creek and Santan that want to come north. Because there's, that was some of the questions that were asked, and obviously we don't want to create more issues with the traffic coming north out of Queen Creek on Ellsworth. And so, we talked to the Union Pacific about that, and they assured us that typically it's 1 or 2 trains a week coming in and out, depending on the needs of the businesses in there. And they're typically coming in and out during off hours. So it wouldn't be something that would be during rush hour morning or rush hour evening that would be contributing to traffic jams and so forth. So pretty exciting for the southeast part of Mesa, having a potential rail spur that comes in off of Rittenhouse and and comes into Mesa.
All right, so got to ask you this one though, because we went all the way south. Can we just hop back north for a minute and just discuss? And we'll just take a second here. Anything that might be coming, Ellsworth and Baseline, northeast or west corner, that have been sitting there forever. It's always said Augusta Ranch future, and everybody thought it was residential. Then the 202 popped up, but I know the Safeway is now closed on that one corner, but I know Baker Brothers is opening in that parking lot. But anything in that, as you get off the freeway at Ellsworth, it's been an eyesore for those who,
the big
I live in
property.
Augusta, and so we've had to see it for 20 years now. And anything happening there?
No. Well, I take that back. So the property is owned by a gentleman in Japan. He's owned the property for 30 or 40 years. He bought it back, before the 60, I think, was even built. Somebody convinced him, I know who, convinced him to come out to Southeast Mesa and buy this piece of property. And so he bought it. He's held on to it for all this time. He watches the market. He knows what the property's worth. He has some pretty stringent conditions that he has placed on the sale of the property. And so that scares a lot of people away. There's been numerous developers that have approached him over the years and have wanted to buy the property and have been interested in purchasing the property. But he has some stuff like, you have to have a close date within 60 days of initialing or whatever, the initial escrow or entitlements or whatever. You have to be completely closed on the property within 60 days. And there's not a lot of businesses or developers that want to do that because they want to do their due diligence, because you never know what's underground until you stick a shovel in it.
Yep.
And so a lot of people have kind of shied away because he has a lot of really stringent standards that he's put into his contract that he's not willing to budge on. He doesn't necessarily like working with zoning attorneys. He thinks that attorneys are a waste of time and a waste of money. And so he doesn't like dealing with zoning attorneys. And so he really likes the one-on-one. So you don't really get a lot of that happening either with big developers. And so he came to us probably about a year ago, and he's interested in selling. He's getting much older, obviously, but he knows what it's worth, and he's sticking to his guns. And so there's a few people that are interested. I was trying to broker a deal between U of A and a developer to come in and buy the property and build U of A school out here in the southeast part of Mesa that would accommodate, something that they were doing at the medical school in downtown Phoenix, whether it be, back office or front office or whatever. I was just trying to get options up here for our residents and for the kids. And that kind of fell through, and they ended up going to Gilbert and took over the old Xavier, I think it is, the Xavier school there in downtown Gilbert that went bankrupt or left. So U of A went in there and took that building over. And so I was kind of bummed on that. But really I was just trying to figure out a way that we could utilize that property, because I don't necessarily want to turn it into residential. I mean, I would love to have sort of like a Santan marketplace out there. I think it'd be a great, a great area to do that. But if you do that, then it'll speed the demise of Superstition Springs. mall, and I don't think anybody wants another Fiesta Mall fiasco on their hands out in Southeast Mesa. And so I'm hesitant to really push for anything like that. I really just don't want residential there, though. I just think it's a waste of really good land to come in and build a bunch of residential.
Well, and you got roads all the way around and freeway on two sides. So just from our and being in the real estate space, that perspective, that would hurt that. Although on the other side of the 202 there in Baseline, they just got done building a bunch of residential, and it seems to be selling well in the apartment complex. So,
Right.
Kevin, we've got several questions for you.
Sure.
I think what we'll do, if it's okay with you,
Sure.
Is kind of jump into the next phase real quick and then try to
Sure.
revisit, or worst case, get these questions to you. One was on the Chrisman project that I know he said there's a meeting tomorrow night, so maybe I'll get you guys connected. Not that we don't want to answer questions, but I don't want to keep everybody to keep moving, and we'll maybe come back to those if that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we got like 2 or 3 more on the development stuff, but I mean, the exciting thing is, at least from my perspective, being in the real estate space and most of my career being just right out here in the Southeast Valley, just tons of new business coming, which brings jobs, and people love to work close to home if they can. I know it's always scary because we want our nice, quiet East Mesa where we used to just have Albertsons and McDonald's, and that was it out here. And things have changed, but I mean, at least it's seems to be a good mix of residential and business. Of course, we all love to support the mom and pop versus some of the big box stuff, but I realize that's kind of a necessary evil too. And that was in one of the questions, is really trying to help bring in that unique kind of destination place instead of just stamping out. It seems like you see these same shopping centers just stamped out over and over and over. And I realize you have to have some of that, but looking for kind of the unique and small business, which is so important to our economy, as we're finding out as we go through this right now.
Right.
COVID
Well,
stuff.
and it was the small businesses really that helped bring us out of the the 2008 recession. I mean, it wasn't the big box stores, right, that were coming to the rescue. It was the small business. So I've always been a proponent of small businesses. In fact, one of the things I'm on the National League of Cities. I'm the chair this year on the national stage with the Community and Economic Development Committee. So I'm chairing that. One of the things we've talked about for the last 4 years on there is CDBG dollars, Community Development Block Grant dollars. So those are federal funds that come in, and we provide those for housing assistance, for low income, for homeless. I mean, there's a wide variety of things that we use CDBG dollars for, really also for a lot of our nonprofits to help them out as well. But what I've done this year, but it's been a stalled discussion, because you talk about CDBG dollars, but nothing ever happens with it, right? There's no action, and I'm very much an actionable person. And so I changed the focus, and I said, look, one of the things I want to talk about is best practices that all the cities are using for small businesses, that each of us can take back to our community and really promote small businesses and make that push to help startups and small businesses. If you're already a small business and you're in operation, what can we do as a city to help you expand your business to hire more employees? Or if you have this idea that you want to start a business, what can we do as a city to give you the information and support you starting up and starting your business in Mesa and keeping your business in Mesa? And so that's kind of where I'm trying to get us to. I really want to push for the small business and bring them in, because ultimately it's the small business that keep our economy thriving.
No, that's great. And one thing I can tell you that you can start pointing them to right away, we've been doing it for about 10 years now, is our local neighborhood network group that we do the third Tuesday of every month at 7:30 in the morning. And we actually started with Wells Fargo, partnered originally with them Now we do it over at Sossaman and Baseline at the hub in that back room there. And it's free and it's been a lot of fun. The idea is to keep dollars in our local community by getting to meet business owners and kind of helping share. And so, if there's any business owners out there listening, I'd love to have you join us. It's been fun. We've been doing it consistently now for probably going on 10 years now. And it's been really fun to find out and meet some of the owners, even whether they're own a larger business or smaller. It's just fun to really dig deeper and really get to know the people, and makes you really want to support them. And these are people right in our backyard. And, we know from the real estate perspective, every time there's a vacancy in a commercial space, it's just not good.
Right.
Having Safeway not there and having this big box there now, you could just tell the parking lot, and then it affects everybody. So really trying to support local. There's been a big push right now with, this COVID stuff to really support, local, especially, restaurants and other small business. But, we're trying to do our part, and, love to get anybody out just to share. It's not formal or anything, just kind of fun. So,
do another plug on that. So what day and what time?
Well, it's the third Tuesday of every month at 7:30 in the morning. And it's at the Hub Grill and Bar there at Sossaman and Baseline in the back room. We let anybody come, as far as it doesn't matter if there's multiple businesses or not. With the exception of, real estate, of course. But other than that, we're very neutral. No, I'm just teasing. We've had realtors there. We typically get them end up on our team, which is fun. No, but we've just had a passion really for this area. Living in the area. My office is at Ellsworth and Guadalupe, right on the corner there behind Sonic, and really just trying to keep dollars in the community. And that's why we were, as we were going through this time, we're like, man, we got to get out and talk to people, get Kevin connected so people can hear what's happening in the area and how much growth and opportunity there is. Because there's a lot of people right now that just could use a little light at the end of the tunnel. This is, we got another 2-week extension today from, Governor Ducey. It's been tough. I think being home for a week or two at first was kind of fun and like, this is different. And I think now people are, they're ready to get out and socialize and connect. And, I think we're all ready for that in a safe way, of course. But, keeping dollars local in the Southeast Valley for us is extremely important. And that's why we try to do some of these things, business spotlights every month. And we really appreciate you coming on based on the questions, and hopefully, we'll get some feedback from this event, make it better, hopefully. And hopefully people want us back and we can do this again a little more regularly, so we can be a little more efficient too. There's a lot to talk about tonight, especially because first one, and we haven't even got into kind of real estate and the economy and kind of the future of what we kind of see things trending towards. But let's hop into that quick, then we can kind of circle back if everybody wants to hang on and kind of go through some of these last questions. So, so I know Craig's going to jump in here with me too. Is we've got a couple slides just to kind of give you some visual, because there's a lot going on. I'm involved in a couple of the restaurants out here, and having to lay off 230 people or furlough was probably one of the harder things that I've been involved in. Just because some great people, a lot of them are neighbors, and right out here. And when you see these numbers, the media is always looking for something to, kind of shock and awe everybody, if you will. And when you hear these numbers, it's kind of like, I look at it, I go, well, yeah, duh. What'd you expect? We told everyone to stay home. We closed businesses. Who didn't think unemployment was going to go up, and to the number that it's gone up? The interesting thing is, we just came out of a record low unemployment, and a lot of these jobs are just waiting to reopen to rehire people. Now, we're not ignorant either. We know a lot of people are realizing maybe they don't need all those positions. I think there'll be, a little bit of a growth back into employment for people as businesses start to kind of slowly reopen and then start to rehire. But I know for us personally, we're hoping to get back to business as soon as we can and get all 230 and hopefully some more back employed with us. And so, I think that number is scary, and it should be, but it's not it's not a permanent number, and it's not going to be a lasting number in my opinion, and in most economists' opinion. So, sometimes we got to look at the whole big picture here and understand that, this is a blip in the scheme of things. It's a little bump in the road, but I think if we keep positive, because ultimately we control the narrative. It's us as people that control the narrative, and if we just are negative about things, or this or that, and look, all these guys, whichever side you're on, or like or don't like, there's some tough decisions, and you're not going to win everybody no matter what you decide. You got to make a decision and move forward, but we're getting there. And when we look at the financial markets, when we talk.
Kenny, real quick, one thing on the unemployment too is, I heard a stat, last week, that it's like 60% of the unemployment in the country right now is restaurant. And so, like you were just saying, a lot of those people will get their jobs back. And the other thing is, even looking at this slide, to say 18.5% is unemployed, I think, we try to focus on that means that over 80% are employed. So, and they're expecting that to drop down to like 6% by 2021. So.
Yeah, I think we'll see things, and this next slide kind of represents that. So when you look at history, right? Because that's all we can kind of go off of, is historically what's happened. When you look at Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Morgan Stanley, three of the larger financial institutions historically have been around. They've all agreed and kind of share the same sentiment that we should really see kind of a V type recovery. And I know, Craig, we were looking at some data the other day that really almost suggests somewhere between a V and a check mark. We're not really sure yet, but much different than what we've seen before. And I know in our business, a lot of what we've seen and heard is everybody immediately reverts back to 2008, 2009, 2010, 11. That's not comparing apples and apples. That's completely different market. And, looking at this chart here, when you look at, unemployment pre and unemployment, where we think we're going, when you look at the Great Recession, which really was that housing market that a lot of us lived through, as it kind of peaked in 06 and then really, was starting to recover strong in 2012 and on. You can just see the graph of that. I mean, 9 years in a recovery, and then we're anticipating less than 2 years for the current epidemics. So completely different, and you can just see from this graph, we had a pretty quick drop. I mean, and then we're at that bottom, which we're kind of coming out of now, and then we start to see that recovery. And we really do believe that it's going to be, much quicker. When you look at these, these couple cities here, these were cities that were hit harder and first. When you talk about New York, Portland, Austin, Seattle, these were some of the markets that really had more cases and were locked down much sooner than our market. And you're already seeing recovery in these markets. Meaning that they've already kind of come through the bottom and they're starting to go on their way back up. And the interesting thing with that is, 4 or 5 weeks ago, we were having record months in the housing industry. I mean, interest rates, lowest historically they've been, and only getting better. So when this thing shakes off, it's not like we're going back to where we were in, 08. So Greg, if you want to take that one. So, and this was just a quote by John Norman, which is, he's with JP Morgan. So again, most people are expecting that, a couple months and more of a truly a V-shaped recovery, somewhere between a V and a check mark so meaning that much quicker turnaround times than what we saw in 08 and in that time there. And the reason we keep bringing that up is in our industry, that seems to be what we keep hearing with buyers and sellers and just even clients and friends. It's like, are we there? And it's like, it's not even the same conversation, completely different place and time. We don't have the mortgage situation we had then. So there's so much positive coming out of this. Now, with that being said, we don't have the crystal ball either, and we don't know 100% what's going to happen. We just look at history and then current data. But we do know there's going to be, more interruptions to home sales should be expected in the next couple months. But what we have seen is home prices have actually still continued to hold and rise, which is almost counterintuitive for what's going on. But it just shows this time around, what's different is we are at a real lack of supply, and demand is still very, very high. And what I mean by that is, in the Phoenix market, if you said, about 24,000 homes on the market is about what we would consider a balanced market. So not a sellers, not a buyers. We're probably somewhere, and Craig, you probably know this better than me right now, is probably somewhere around 17,000 homes on the market or so. You're on mute, so.
Single family is going to be more in the 13,000, I believe. I'd have to look again, but
overall, somewhere in that, last I looked at it. But point is that we are still well below on supply compared to where demand is. And when you look at, even sitting here on my right side is, California, for example, Bay Area. I mean, you look at that market out there, statistically last year, we had about 691,000 people move out of California. So of course, Arizona, Vegas, Boise, or, the whole Idaho area, Texas, you were still seeing a lot of people move to those locations. And, I really believe if you've been locked down for the last 6-7 weeks, 5-6 weeks in your 1,200 square foot, $1.2 million, 1987 built house, you might consider heading out of there. And anyway, but looking at these graphs, what we're really seeing right now in the Phoenix market is less homes going on the market in general. So these are kind of new listings coming into the market. Well, again, it's kind of that duh, right? I mean, no surprise. People are staying home. They don't necessarily want people in their home. And so you're going to see less homes go on the market in general. But demand is still there. We're seeing a lot more virtual stuff, from showings to, open houses, those kind of things. Craig, you want to talk on this one?
Yeah, this is basically a graph showing real estate showings in Arizona through Showing Time. The majority of us use Showing Time to schedule showings now. And so they track all of that. And as you can see, they've been down, when this started, but basically over the last 2-3 weeks, we've started to see that on our own personal or team listings, as well as this is being proven here that activity is starting to heat up again. People are starting to get out, and it's a great, there's definitely things are starting to pick up again.
Yeah, I know we just posted an ad of, what was it, 4 or 5 houses that we had listed. Well, here it is. Look at that, right? Almost like that just popped right up there. So there's 4 properties right there that have been listed, after this pandemic and after the stay at home, have already sold. And, from a couple here in Mesa, one in Gilbert. So, it proves, I guess, the point that, people are resilient. If they need a house, they still need a house. What we are finding is all of the, we'll call them the kind of an industry term, the iBuyers. But when you look at the acronym we'll use is ZOOs. When you look at Zillow, Opendoor, OfferPad, those guys were buying a lot. They've all paused their buying currently. So that is giving a lot of our, I'll say, traditional buyers more opportunity to buy right now in this market. Seller concessions we're seeing a little bit more of that because I think sellers are nervous it may not sell. And so it's actually a great opportunity. And if you're a seller, it's still a good opportunity because there's less homes on the market and the demand is still there. So, we want people to know that life is still moving, and in our industry too, people are still, looking at, asking a lot of questions right now too. Refinance, should I do this? Should I buy a new home? We spend a lot of time just honestly sitting down and helping consult people. I've been doing this 20 plus years, been at Ellsworth and Guadalupe since 2005, and we're not going anywhere. We just, if we can just help people and educate them. Talked to a family this morning just about remodeling their house and, maybe staying in that one and just improving it. And so, but we're definitely seeing the market is not just stopped as I think if you weren't in it, it would feel like. Craig, you want that one?
Yeah, this is a chart that's showing that of the last 5 recessions that we've gone through as a country, only 2 have negatively impacted home values, and obviously 2008, which was caused by housing mostly in financial sectors. So recession doesn't equal home value dropping. It certainly isn't in this case.
Well, when you think about, Scott, if you'll go back one real quick, just when you think about that drop at 19.7, there's a lot of factors that led to that. And we're not anywhere near any of those right now. And one of them was, people, they were paying $2,400, $2,800 a month in, a mortgage payment. The house loses $100,000, $150,000 equity or more, and they could pay $1,200 a month in rent. The difference today is rent is caught up. I mean, rent is, for a lot of people, when we help them buy a new house, they're actually saving a couple $100 versus rent right now. And supply and demand in that is really tough for people. Matter of fact, if anyone's thinking about investing in real estate, there's definitely a shortage on single family rental properties. So the point is there's no motivation for someone to foreclose on their property in this market, because you still have to have a roof over your head. So you're going to go pay rent the same as what you're paying for your house, which wouldn't make any sense not to just own your house. So a lot of differences between 08 and 2020 markets, but people tend to revert back to that. So we just wanted to clarify that through our time here together tonight. So this really kind of shows this 2006, 7, 8 market, where when you look at that red line going up, that's just where home prices should naturally flow based on appreciation. And you can see we were overvalued, 05, 06, 07, it started to correct, came down, recorrected, and we're still below the red line. So we still have room to catch up to where if we just had that, 3 to 4% annual appreciation, we'd still be below that line. So it doesn't give us any indications that we're in any kind of trouble in the real estate market at all. Craig, you got that?
Yeah, this is basically showing what the appreciation was in the 5 years leading up to the 6 years, leading up to the crash, and then the last 6 years, just to show, the 2017 was the highest appreciation in the last 6 years, and it's higher than the lowest one was in 2001. So it's, again, to back up what you were just saying, it kind of shows that we've been more natural and more cautious in our appreciation.
Yeah, the other big factor to that market was, the mortgage side of things. So when you look at kind of on the left there, you see the tighter guidelines, and the top was kind of the looser guidelines. As Wall Street and the mortgage industry really loosened the guidelines, well, of course, people were getting mortgages that, on stated income and stuff that's illegal today, that really spurred people buying houses that, probably really weren't in a position, not putting any money down, not really anything to lose, where now you see the guidelines of, really more normal. I mean, you can still get a loan. It's still, you just actually have to have income and verifiable income and things like that. So they've done a better job to stabilize the neighborhoods. And I always tell people, hey, people who are buying in your neighborhood today, they're really qualified. Like, it's not like it was, coming out of that market where they were just saying how much money they made. They really had to back it up. So, again, I think we're moving. This is a little blip in the radar. I don't think this is anything that's going to be, lasting more than maybe a quarter, and then we'll be right back to, I think, where we were. And when you look at equity cashed out, if you guys remember, 05, 06, 07, that's when everybody's refinancing. I mean, sometimes twice in the same month. I mean, just pulling equity out, they were going up 10, 20, 30 grand a month. But if you look at it in the last 3 years, if you add all 3 years up, it doesn't even equal one of the years is closest to 07 of how much equity has been taken out. So, people are, they learned their lesson, and I think they're leaving more of their equity in their house and more confident with their payments. And actually, we've had several people buying second and third properties. So I think we're at we're just at a little weird time, but I don't think it's going to last very long for the real estate space specifically. You want that, Craig?
What's that?
I don't know if you want to.
Oh, this is just showing that currently, this was an email we got from our lender today that 30-year mortgage rates are averaging 3.43 with the discount point. But the good news is, for the first time in a while, purchase applications are up over refi application, or not over, but they went up and refi decreased. Refi applications or refis were about 70, I think 5%, he said, or 72% of the lending industry's business.
Well, I think everybody needs to understand too, and we don't have Steve with us tonight, but on the mortgage side is, you're hearing about all this forbearance and things like that. Just make sure, and consult with somebody that you trust that's, a professional, because forbearance does not mean forgiveness either. It doesn't mean that it just goes away. And so some of them require you to pay at a balloon at the end, in say a year or less. In some cases, it can have effects on credit and other things. And just know that, we're anticipating, again, don't have the crystal ball, but that rates could get even better here as we come out of this thing and end up in the third and fourth quarter this year. So if you're not sure on that stuff, please, don't take it from a Facebook post or a friend who said this. Consult with a professional if you're thinking about refinancing, or if you're really struggling to make a payment. Certainly consult with them. Give us a call confidentially. We're happy to sit and consult and look at what your different options are, because that's the one thing I will tell you. Today's market, we have more options than, for me, over 20 years, I've never had this many options. Lease purchase options that are actually legitimate and solid. Sell your house without going on the market, sell it and rent it back for a little bit. There's so many different programs now out there. We really just got to stay on top of them all and help guide you through all the different options, and then help you make the best decision, for you and your family. So Craig, you take this one. So
this is just a snapshot of 85209 and 85212. We pulled out kind of the important numbers to show what the current active listing count was for April, what it was in March, and then from there, and just showing that, not much has changed in terms of, look at month supply is very, very similar in both zip codes. Average list to sale price is very similar. So, and it shows there, between 8% annual appreciation, and then in 209 more than 12%, that type of thing. But monthly appreciation, annual appreciation has stayed pretty consistent, and so as the success rate of listings, the average listing success rate is still very, very, very high. So just showing that there hasn't been a tremendous dip, because like you were saying earlier, the slowdown in demand has been met with a slowdown in number of new listings come on the market. So it hasn't affected month supply or inventory, which supply demand is what drives the price. So
yeah, a couple of those numbers are actually up from last month and last quarter. An 85209 average sales price to list price, you're almost at 100%. And at 212, you're 0.2 off of being literally selling for list price. So month supply, my point is there's a lot that would have to change, and we'd have to be in this crisis we're in for a lot longer for these numbers to really, really change. And so, it's up to us.
Sorry, I was going to say month supply means that basically if you take 85209, and if no new listings came on the market, stop to today, that it would take just over a month for everything to sell. which anything below 3 is considered a seller's market.
Yep. So we're still solid overall. So and I expect that to continue. I don't think we're going to see values go down. I think if anything, we're going to see things move pretty quickly once everything can get going again. Probably the biggest cancellation stuff we've had was just people who were scheduled to come in town to go look at houses right before all this started that have had to put those trips on hold, who we believe will, be back in the market as soon as we can. Corporate relocations, all the things that we typically see. And, as Kevin was talking earlier, I mean, all the different businesses that are being built and that are coming along, the 202 and the new 24. I mean, there's so much coming out here that with the development, it just makes a ton of sense. It's going to bring a lot more people. So
And they said nationally, we are looking at like 4.5 times online activity right now, which makes sense. People are home, but they are online looking at housing, favoriting houses, saving houses. So it's almost going to be like releasing them to the wild when we're allowed to get out and look. So
yeah, we just put a quick map because sometimes, people are like, oh, you guys just sell out here. And we just kind of wanted to make it clear that, and this is only part of the valley. We serve the entire valley, just do a lot of work out here in the Southeast Valley, of course, and where a lot of our passion is. So a couple of things we wanted to talk about. And Kevin, if you want to jump in on any of these two, I know a couple of them are near and dear to you. One of the things, and we're starting to really push it out, but is our Klaus Team Cares, which is our hyper local charity, if you will. So, when you guys support us out there in the community, we support the communities, and we're able to donate back from every commission and really help people out that are in need. We've had so many scenarios. A lot of them we publicly don't want to share, but people have requested funds for different things. Usually, unfortunately, a lot of them are tragedies, but we're there and love the big charities and the big national, but we just have such a passion for our communities and taking care of, our own neighbors, that with our charity, the dollars are all meant to be, hyper local here and really put back into the Southeast Valley communities. So we've had so many different requests over the years of different situations of people in need and being able to help out. The newest campaign that we just started, and for me and Craig, this one's been near and dear to us because we haven't been able to see our mom for about 6 weeks now. She is in an assisted living community, and of course she's on lockdown.
She actually just called me while we were on this, so I got to call her back.
Well, you better get off this and go take care of
know.
mom. Jeez, come on now.
Yeah.
But we started this thing called Letters of Love, and it's been really cool. Quail Park, which is over in Higley and Elliott, they were the first one we launched with. She just sent me a picture of all the letters that have come in so far. Been really, really cool to see. And basically, there's just anonymous letters that are written to people in the assisted living communities that are not even able to get outside in a lot of cases or leave, and or have family members even visit them. And so that's been kind of a tough thing for them. So as we were talking to them, it's like, well, what if we had the community? I mean, from kids to adults to whoever, just draw letters and just anonymous, just thinking of you, hope you're hanging in there. We miss you, just positive things. And so we started with Union Grill and Tap restaurant over at Higley and Baseline. And basically people, can drop off there and we'll get them delivered, or you can mail them direct. And so then we launched that in the newsletter this month, and we're supporting Summit over here at Signal Butte between Baseline and Guadalupe. And so we actually have a box in front of our office we're putting out every day because our lobby is currently closed. But we have this mailbox that one of the guys on our team spent a lot of time building. And so we just had a group yesterday drop off a bunch of letters, and it was really cute and to see and support that. So we have 3 different communities, 4 different drop locations, or you can mail direct. But we really encourage you, especially with the kids being home, get the markers out, have some fun with it. And if you're dropping them off, we're going to get them dropped off for you to the communities. So you don't even have to put postage or worry about envelopes. They can just have fun with it. But it's been kind of a neat little thing, and we appreciate the support, so far from everybody on that. So United Food Bank, Kevin, aren't you involved with them?
I am. I'm on the board of directors for the United Food Bank, along with one of your employees.
Yeah, Scott's been a big part of that, and our team's done a lot with them too. And it's just been really fun to see. And one of our movers has been helping them out, and it's been really a neat to see people pull together, during this time. I know they've got their distribution on Friday that they do from 7 to 11. So a lot of good things going on. We are going to be having a drop off at our location, at our office there at Ellsworth and Guadalupe, Saturday, May 9th, from 9 to 11 also. Or you can let us know and we'll come pick it up for you. So we've got the food bank and then Jacob's Mission, which we've been a big supporter of them over the years too. Our company, we've done one of our national events there where we give back for a day. And you can see on the screen some of the items that are needed. So any of those items, if you want to drop at our office, this next Saturday, so not this coming Saturday, but the following, please feel free to, and we'll make sure and get everything over, to you. It's one of the things with us having a physical office in the neighborhood is, we try to use that throughout the year as a drop point for different events that we're doing. And I know the other big one, which I think is probably next slide, if I'm not mistaken, is the Mesa Hydration campaign. And man, that has been a game changer for the city of Mesa. When you talk about it, I mean, look at it already this week, we've already broke 100. So we did a lot last year for this. The fire department stops by, picks up all the water, but tons of people backed their car up and dropped off, whether it's one case or as many cases, or, if you can do it, we've got, you can actually do a check and we can actually get the whole pallet, and we have it set up right now where Costco will deliver it directly to United Food Bank. So been really a neat program. You'll see more of it in our newsletter coming out, but just, continued effort to really connect the communities, bring everybody together and keep dollars in our backyard, and then support those people, in need. So.
And on that point too, real quick, Kenny, we're looking at part of the Mesa Cares project is looking to provide those canned foods to the United Food Bank. And so there, as soon as I get more information, I'll post it on my Facebook page, on social media. They're looking at doing a drive-through canned food donation. I know they're looking to hold one at Eastmark Great Park. I think they're looking at like 8 a.m. to 12 or 7 or something like that. So as I get more information, I'll push it out there, but I know they're looking to take any canned foods for the United Food Bank, and so they want to do the drive-through canned food donation to help replenish the shelves. So I'll work on trying to get that information. I think they're looking at the 5th of May. So that's going to come up on us pretty quick. And then again, June 24th.
Okay.
So as soon as I tie down locations, information, and exact times, I'll get that out on social media. I'll provide it to you as well, so you can push that out too.
Yeah, and if you guys, depending how you found us tonight, for everyone who's joined us, 85209.com and 85212. We have a Facebook page. We'd love you to join that. That's where we push a lot of this out to keep everybody updated. We do get a lot of it, from Kevin keeping us updated. And then a lot of that's what ends up in the newsletter too. So if you guys have anything too that you need more clarification on or more information on, you can always, message us through there. You can email me, just Kenny at Klaus Team. We're here to help out and connect the dots. And one other fun thing that should be on the Facebook page, I'm sure it is we launched a couple weeks ago a restaurant bingo program, and kind of just have fun to support local. So in this month's newsletter, Matter of fact, I got it right here. The bingo card is actually in here. And so you can just rip that off, and then the directions are on there. But it's kind of been fun. We've had a few people turn it in and just kind of help support local and kind of gamify it and make it a little more interesting. So, well, if we can here, maybe I'll just get to a couple of these last questions just to not
Sure.
leave anybody hanging.
I've tried to answer some of them as I went. I've been typing and responding.
Oh, good.
to them,
Okay.
so we'll see.
Okay. So
Fire away.
all right. So we had one was commercial property 202 Elliott on either side. So Elliott, so I know we got the kind of the corridor there between, well, really that's what's all going on right there. Yeah, that's a hot area.
That's a hot spot. So right there so the south side of Ellsworth and on the east side of the 202, south side of Elliott, that's all state land. So all that's going to have to be, at some point in time, it'll be bought by a developer. It'll be purchased from the state land department, and then at that time they'll zone it. But right now it's being proposed as mixed use. I'm not a real big fan of mixed use because since I've been on council, what mixed use means to me, what I've seen mixed use has been primarily apartments with a couple of little pop-up restaurants, like a Burger King or McDonald's. So I'm not a big fan of necessarily mixed use because it just means more apartments. But we'll see. I mean, light commercial would be obviously something I'd love. The north side, right next to Dignity, a developer did come in, oh gosh, probably a little over a year ago, wanted to purchase that property, wanted to build apartments. I kicked him out of my office. I was like, no way, you're not going to build apartments at the beginning of the Elliott Tech Corridor. It's kind of a no-no. So that property is still available. I believe they put some cows or something on there. They're trying to keep it as agricultural use right now because obviously the taxes are cheaper on that. North of Dignity, there is a developer that has been in discussions and they're working through the design. We've talked to them several times, but they're wanting to build like a medical park. So there would be medical offices that would support Dignity. So there'd be like, your ophthalmologist and your lab techs or whatever, your labs, and where you can do your phlebotomies or what have you. So they're looking at building out a big portion of that north piece of Dignity to like accommodate Dignity per se with medical uses, medical office. On the east side, northeast corner, there's multiple landowners, but there's been discussions from anything from hotels to restaurants. So those obviously I would support having something like that there that supports our community as well as supports the businesses in the area. But that nobody's really come in with any hard plans or really serious discussions. It's kind of been, hey, we're kind of interested. This is what we're thinking. What do you think? And I'm like, love it, but they haven't really moved on it yet. So we'll see what happens there.
All right. And then one other on that type of question, Baseline and Chrisman, southeast corner. So that would be that one little corner that's framed by the village's Eastridge, but nothing, it's been dirt for a long, long time. Well, forever. So.
Yeah. So nobody's come in yet on that piece. That's north of the Black Rock, correct?
Yeah. So yeah.
That's further north of the Black. I know that there's a LDS church that has come in and bought some property. They want to build a church just north of the Black Rock. But between that and the freeway, the 60, I'm not sure. I don't think anybody really heard from anybody.
This would actually be across the street from, say, the Bashes. So on the other corner, the
Southeast.
Southeast.
Oh, the southeast.
Yeah.
Let me bring my map up so I can kind of jog my memory of. I'm usually pretty on top of what's happening, but that's Chrisman.
Yeah, it's
there's
just
so
that
much going
corner
on.
that, it's all framed out by the village's Eastridge, fence lines, but that's all that's there right
Oh
now.
yeah, so that corner, I don't know actually who owns that corner. We get an email from some citizens every once in a while, about once a year, that say, "Hey, it's overgrown. Can you
Yep.
have somebody come out and mow it or what have you?" And our code compliance folks magically make it happen. So they know obviously who the owner is. I don't know who the owner is. I'm not sure if that is, well, it's Mesa. It's in Mesa city limits, so it would be us. I just don't know. I've never had anybody come in and talk to me about that corner.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be a great corner, but who knows?
Yeah, absolutely.
And one other question that came in: any new golf courses planned out this way? So
I have not heard of any new golf courses in this area.
and I'm not a
So
golfer,
there-
but just
well, let me go back. Let me retract that. It's not a golf course. It's a frisbee golf course.
hey, now we're getting somewhere.
So that'll be on the Signal Butte side, just south of the Apple facility. So there's a green belt that is kind of the buffer between residential and Apple, because most data centers don't like to be too close to residential, so they want a big buffer. And so DMB at the time, Brookfield now, agreed to carve out some green space there. So there's going to be there's a group that came in and they proposed to build a frisbee golf course there. So the
that's
plans were
awesome.
submitted, gosh, a year ago. So I'm hopeful that that'll be sometime in the very near future that we can go out there and play some frisbee golf.
It's fun. Yeah, I actually enjoy that one. So that's great to hear. That's actually that's a good ending there for me. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. There you go.
Exciting. So well, awesome, man. Well, hey, look, we're an hour and something into this. We don't want to keep people up all night, although a lot of people are probably home tomorrow. So
Yeah.
but anyway, well, Kevin, it's been a privilege and an honor, and I hope to we'll get hopefully some feedback from this from people that hopefully they found some value. Hopefully by the next time we do it, we'll assuming we do that, we'll be able to be a little we'll have a lot of this kind of out of the way and just kind of get updates, and hopefully we won't have to spend a lot of time on the real estate market next time. It'll just be good and everybody's happy, and and we're right here to help support and do anything we can. So, if you haven't connected with us on Facebook or those with 85209 and 85212.com, please do. That's where like the network event is. We just posted Dairy Queen's doing a Mother's Day special. So, and if you know stuff going on, let us know too. We want to keep the community connected. We know, everybody's going to have different opinions on things, but that's what makes the world go around. So, we love you guys and appreciate you spending some time with us tonight. And Craig, thank you. Kevin, thank you.
Thank you, Kenny. It's been a
plane's
pleasure.
ready to go, so
Thanks, Kevin.
Really appreciate it. And thank you and your team, Kenny, for all you do for our community. I know you do a lot. So thank you guys for everything that you do for our community. And thanks for having me on tonight.
well, I know it's not a priority for you, but if we can figure out how to get at least like Supercuts or somebody open, me and Craig are both in hats tonight. I'm
Are you
due for a
getting
haircut, my
shiny?
friend.
I do my own.
I can tell. So, all right, everybody. Well, hey, thank you guys for your time and energy tonight. And hopefully we help some people out tonight, and we'll keep growing forward from here. And everybody, most importantly, stay safe. And remember, we control the narrative. So let's keep a positive outlook, and we can turn this thing around quick and get back to business. So thanks, everybody.